fun day, everybody. Welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Like all the videos. Listen to us on Apple too, and Spotify.
You know what? Listen several times. Like, just put it on in the background. That's okay. If you've already heard it again, do it on other platforms.
And as always, we talk judging MMA, so make sure you're brushed up on that scoring criteria.
And it's great that you say that, Dan, because listeners don't know this, but Dan and I are a part of the MMA Media Fantasy Football League. And Dan had the interesting... well, what did you say exactly in the group chat, right? It was something to the effect of you didn't really know what was going on with the...
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
What the scoring was.
I said, you guys were talking about quarterbacks. Someone said quarterbacks are worth a lot, and I couldn't tell if they were being facetious.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that word.
Good job.
So I said, oh, man, I didn't read the scoring criteria. Maybe I should read that. And then Scott jumped on me.
I did, and everyone in the chat appreciated
it. Was
that.
Quite ironic.
It was. You had to admit that
Yeah.
that was, you kind of set yourself up for that one. But yeah. So make sure you read not just the MMA scoring criteria. Read your fantasy football league scoring criteria.
Turns out it was standard scoring. Quarterbacks are not worth that much.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, there's the super flex.
Nah,
which
who gives a shit? Crap. I didn't complete that word.
You didn't, huh?
I didn't complete that word.
All right.
I just got the first two syllables.
Good job. Good job. Yeah. All right. Well, do what you want to do, but I mean, I know what I'm doing. You and I actually have a fantasy football draft. Well, it will be past tense when you guys are listening to this. Sunday.
In about 12 hours.
In about 12 hours. You've been doing your research?
Not at all.
You're screwed.
I haven't even looked at a sheet.
You are screwed.
Whatever.
I'm going to wreck you. I've been studying all day.
Yeah.
I make my own rankings up. I go hardcore.
Yeah, and then when, Terrell Davis rears his head and you're done for the season on week 1, you're going to be upset.
Are we reaching back to the late 90s for this one?
Yeah, we are.
Wow. Fascinating. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that'll be fun, or was fun. Was fun. Yes. We'll go with that. Past tense. Also, at least fun, I think, was PFL the other day. You and I were both there.
I had a good time.
We got to see each other.
We did.
You were floating around for a little bit, and then some people kicked you out of the
security is awful at the theater. As long as you can get in the building, you can sit wherever you want. You can sit wherever you want.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah, that's about right.
And I like that, actually.
No, you should. Yeah.
So,
I mean, keep that in mind next time you're saying you want to get a good seat. Just get a seat and then go wherever.
Well, I did buy a good seat. Someone must have just not wanted to go at all. I was like, I got to get rid of this ticket. The face for it was like $150. Paid $30 on StubHub for it. Mm-hmm. So can't beat that. Until I was very upset though when I walked in and I noticed my seat was directly behind the commentary booth, where I expected Sean O'Connell to be standing the entire time. Mm-hmm. Credit to him, he did not stand at all during a fight.
Well, that's good.
So I'm very happy. Got to give credit where credit's due.
Well, as you know, because there was a period of time where, like I said, Dan was kind of floating around. I was in a media section off to the right, the left hand side. Excuse me. If you're facing toward the cage, I was on the left hand side. And at one point, Don Davis, he's the president or the CEO. I can't remember what or COO. He's one of the founders of PFL. He was making rounds to some media people, and he came over and said hello. It was an introduction from a PR person I work with, and I had the thought, because Dan is like within my eyesight as I'm talking to him, and I'm like, this would be the time Dan wants me to tell him about the problem with Sean O'Connell standing up, but it just wasn't the right time, sir.
We could have,
and it wasn't necessary because
it wasn't necessary. But I was ready to have PFL book an 11th fight that night.
Mm-hmm. Didn't have to happen.
It didn't happen.
Sean was actually so afterward. Me and some media people went to, I guess, the hotel where a lot of the fighters were staying at, as well as PFL people, and some other media people just down the block, and a lot of the people were just hanging out in the lobby. Sean happened to be in there. He kind of was leaving as I was coming in. I think he went to get milkshakes or something and never came back. But it was if he stuck around And I had talked to him. I was going to ask him what the deal is with that because I'm curious. I'm curious why he is staying.
I would have drank his milkshake.
Like Daniel Plainview.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, very nice. But I mean, honestly, I thought the fights were overall pretty solid.
Solid
Here or there. The main event, of course, was beyond reproach. Really fantastic.
That was fight of the year candidate.
It is, and I would say it's very easily PFL's greatest fight.
Has anyone heard from Clay Collard? Is he walking?
I hope he's just not because he's giving it a rest, but I'm sure he's fine.
I imagine he spent a few days horizontal. I'm
just glad he doesn't have like compartments. Anytime somebody eats a lot of leg kicks and they're in trouble, you just don't want them to get like compartment syndrome. Because that's terrible.
The leg was disgusting.
It was.
Oof.
I just feel bad for the strategy employed by Shane Burgos because it was a good strategy. It didn't quite get going. I think round 2 in particular just didn't go well enough for him to get it going, right? But all told, I thought that he had a really great 5-round strategy, but for a 3-round fight.
He had a great strategy. He just had to add in not getting hit.
That's kind of the thing he always needs to add in and doesn't.
Like 200 times he got punched in the face.
Well, they both threw a lot of strikes, but you're right. He got hit way too many times. He does tend to do that. One hopes that the time between now and the next time he comes back, he maybe gives that a little bit more thought on how we can kind of like protect the face a little bit, right? But more importantly, at least for the grand scheme, I think it really underscored the fact that we need PFL to start actually doing 5-round tournament fight, not just the final, but in the semifinal as well.
I want to talk about this at another portion of our starters, and I'll lump it in.
Yeah. But
I agree, but I also agree for another portion. That
I have a feeling I know what you mean, but yeah, but just specific to PFL. It's just specific to
yeah. I think PFL needs to do a lot of things.
Sure, and they certainly do. They do some things right. They do a lot of things that they can work on.
So we had real quick PFL crowd. We had some very knowledgeable fans in the crowd. Some very not knowledgeable also, but the knowledgeable ones in that Sadabu C versus what's his first name? Carlos Leal. That fight, that 3rd round, terrible round of fighting, but it's a close round. And everyone in my section were like, well, that's really close. And, Leal didn't do anything really, but he has all this, cage clinch position for the majority of the entire round. But when they were separated, C landed a couple good strikes, but he only landed like 3 or 4. Could go either way. And we saw it get split. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of leading C from my seat.
Okay. I didn't have a very good view at all, and to be honest, I was also doing other things, so I wasn't actually focused on scoring that particular. Really, I couldn't score any rounds. In fact, from the main event, the first 3 minutes or so, I looked away enough so much that because I was doing some writing, that I actually came away from those first 5 minutes thinking, oh, maybe Shane Burgos won the round because he had success later in the round when I was able to focus more. And that's obviously not true.
Right. Yeah.
But that's the thing. If you're not hyper-focused, if you're not watching for 5 minutes, if you're not laser-focused, you can't really score a fight. You just can't do it.
I might also bring a phone book with me next time. The person in front of me was tall.
Oh.
And I had to keep looking around him.
I was going to say, I don't know why you need that, but okay.
Yeah.
So you know which plumber to call? A plumber?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. That's an in-joke. We don't need it. But anything else for PFL before we get to...
PFL, I found it interesting that the amateur fight
Jolly Walsh against Davis.
Isn't NYSAC?
Yes.
I find that interesting.
Okay, so I have a little intel on that. I was talking with one of the officials backstage, and they were explaining to me that in New York, because of the sheer volume of amateur fights, it's kind of just too much for the New York Commission to handle. So they enlist ISKA to handle amateur officiating.
Okay.
I think it's across the board, if I understand correctly.
And in that fight, I want to say it's a very, very fine stoppage. No issue whatsoever with it.
Yes, absolutely. The crowd hated it, but the crowd doesn't understand amateur fights. And also, I think being at a professional show with one random amateur fight that is not made abundantly clear to the people in the arena, that can be very confusing.
Yeah.
So I can understand why they were like, this is an awful, awful stoppage. And look, was it too early? Yes. Is that what you're supposed to do in amateur? Yes. Both are true.
I had 3 or 4 unanswered shots and went down.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. You're not having a war here at amateurs.
Yeah, I was talking with a little bit with Ed Davis, the guy who lost that fight, and a little bit with one of his cornermen, one of his good friends and training partners in that. And he was saying that they come from a town, their graduating class was like 23.
Wow.
Yeah, super hyper small place in Maine. Their gym used to be, I think Marcus Davis used to own it, and Tim Bosch used to train out of there, but both of them have kind of moved on. I think he said Marcus Davis now lives in North Carolina or South Carolina.
The Maniac.
Now. The Maniac.
Did he start there?
No, because he was at Militich.
I know he went to Militich, but he's from Maine.
Yeah, I don't know. Maine's a big place.
Do they know Stephen King?
I didn't ask if they know Stephen King, but yes, obviously. But yeah, so it sounds like probably better training partners could help. Situation like that. They seem to think that they networked really well. They're thinking about even going to Thailand. So it's kind of cool that they got his opportunity and they were really brought in as kind of just another guy for Biagio to fight, right? Mm-hmm. He wasn't brought in to win. No, I think he looked fine for all things considered. Yeah. He's an amateur. I memean, we don't need to go deep into this, but I wish them well. I hope everything works out. Right. Yeah, I think probably we can move on. I just want to say too that it was great to see some of the officials that were there, have a little conversations and that kind of thing, and catch up. I will leave the names out of it for projections, but it was good. It was good. Don't get to go to too many events these days, so it's nice. Now about UFC. UFC was a little different this week,
just a tad.
Little Saturday morning UFC. I didn't get the chance to watch it in the morning because I had plans with the boys. Took them out to a Cub Scout thing. They went and searched for sea glass.
Nice.
That's what I was doing when you were watching violence happen. You got up for the violence like super early because you're crazy.
Well, I had a plan. The new pup wakes up at 4:30.
Oh, okay.
To go out every morning. So I was like, I'm just gonna go to bed super early and I'll just start my day at 4:30 with fights. So
I mean that makes sense.
And it worked out.
Did 209 like the fights?
He slept through most of them. He wakes up at 4:30, plays for about 15 minutes, and he's like, "This is a bit too early to be up. I'm going back to
bed." But you're still up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. How was it watching it at the crack of dawn?
I actually liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like that almost all the time. Maybe start a little bit later, like 7 a.m. prelim starts.
For the prelims, okay.
Yeah. I'd be cool with that.
I'd be all right with that. That kind of gets the day going. That would get me out of bed more often. I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll get up. My kids can just go watch a TV show or something like that for themselves, and I'll watch the fights. This is great. Everybody wins.
Yeah, I got no issue with that. I like it.
Interesting.
I kind of feel bad for the West Coast because they started at 2 a.m., so they had to stay up all night unless they went to bed like super early.
Yeah, I don't know what they would do.
So
hopefully they weren't crazy, and hopefully they did what I did, which is
watch later,
sleep. And watch later, and then you don't have to worry about the pacing of the show.
Yeah. I mean, UFC's pacing is the best. PFL is not.
Yeah, PFL's not.
UFC just churns them out one after the next until they get to unless it's a pay-per-view card, then I think they kind of then it's a little bit drawn out.
There are some poorly paced UFC shows, 100%. I would argue that Bellator has the best pacing.
But on the other hand, I don't think those guys even get entrance music. They're just waiting on the outside of the ring. Like, oh, the fight's over, get in. And then the next two come out in the waiting position. They're like, oh, the fight's over, get in.
Oh, on the prelims you're talking about. Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't say. It's been a while since I've been to a Bellator event. They got to come back to the Garden. I haven't been since pre-pandemic, which feels like 35 years ago instead of 4, but it's a long time. Pandemic just elongated everything, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, I caught up. There were some fights I actually didn't get to watch yet because I ran out of time before I had to work, and I said, you know what, I watched all of our rounds. I watched finishes, and I want to sit down, and the two main fights that I really want to sit down and watch, well, tell me if they're worth it. I will definitely watch one of them anyway. I'm going to watch Aaron Blanchfield against Tyler Santos.
You didn't watch that yet?
Did not get to watch it.
Oh, that's great.
So I'm going to need your input on
okay,
it. When we get to that, that's going to be you kind of carrying a lot of that. But the other one that I wanted to watch, although I know the scores, so I kind of wonder if it's worth it now, is Giga Chikadze against Alex Caceres.
That's an interesting one, especially because the commentary is painting one narrative,
And the fight is
and
developing.
the fight's a little bit different.
Okay.
And not entirely, but it's not as close as they're painting it out to be.
Interesting.
It's very competitive, but it's not that close.
Is it an enjoyable fight?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
think
That's
like
all
it.
I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, then I'll definitely make time to watch it. So yeah, those are the two. I obviously watched Max Holloway's win. That fight was fun.
That was good. Fight.
It was like equally sad to what I kind of thought it would be, but also kind of uplifting and also a lot of fun.
Well, his send off was great.
Yes, that was really fantastic. And kudos to the UFC production team on that one. I'm not the first to say this, but the fact that they just kind of let the moment breathe was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't hear Fitz, you didn't hear Bisping, you didn't hear Felder. Nothing wrong with any of them, but just allowed the moment to be, and that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
They should do that more often. It doesn't just have to be when TKZ is retiring. There's other times where we can just kind of watch. Not all the time. Can't overdo it. But I definitely appreciated that. But the question I would have off of that fight in particular is Max Holloway, he doesn't knock a lot of people out.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since he finished anyone in the distance. This was the first time he actually had like an emphatic finish as opposed to a doctor stoppage, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the last time it happened. Was this win due to his KO power, or was it because of Korean Zombie's eroded chin?
Oh, I think you got a combination there.
Okay, but what's
with Korean Zombie saying, "F it, I'm just going crazy and reckless here. See what happens."
Yeah,
and then
third round, he's just like, "Heck or high water, we're going out."
Yeah, and he went out. Face plant. I mean, kind of fitting way to go out for the Zombie.
What was great was I think he actually landed a strike while he was knocked out, and then he whiffed on the second one.
Maybe, I don't know.
It was hard to tell on the replay. It kind of looked that way.
It was just a big crack, a big right hand that sends him down, and then he hit the mat so hard. I want to say he got cut from the mat.
Oh, I don't know.
He had a cut like where his head would have hit the mat. I don't know.
So I observed remember when he went down and he was kind of like putting his head to the mat after he put the gloves down and everything, and he was looking down, probably crying a little bit. And then you look and it's like, oh, he's crying, but he's crying blood. It was coming from his head.
Yeah,
like a zombie.
Yeah. Well, good on him. Good career.
Yeah. I do feel like at least a good chunk of that was Korean Zombie making that happen, though. Max Holloway's power was showing a little bit, but also I really do think we haven't seen a lot of that because we haven't seen someone whose chin is as vulnerable as Korean Zombie's. And so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll see more of Max do this stuff. But usually he's pretty content to just throw a little bit of volume out there and.
Yeah, and once again, Max Holloway makes it really.
When I say a little bit, I mean like a whole heck of a lot of it, not a little. But yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, once again, Max Holloway makes it super difficult for the featherweight division. Like, what do you do?
Yeah,
he just kills everybody but the champ. So
honestly, just if he's interested in doing it, I'm not going to tell someone go up and wait. If he's interested in doing it, he really should consider doing that. Because there's just no. If that's what he wants to do, I would say do it. Because there's just nothing left for him to do.
Yeah.
What is he gonna do?
He could be like, in the movies where the one friend jumps in front of the other and goes, "You want to get to him? You got to go through me first." Mm-hmm. Like for all Volkanovski's potential opponents.
That's kind of what he's been doing. Lately, they've just taken a stick him with guys who he already beat because that way at least we get some fresh people. Like we could have had Calvin Kattar at one point. Mm-hmm. And that didn't happen. Well, there's a lot of reasons that didn't happen, unfortunately. Calvin Kattar, hopefully he recovers from the various. Last thing was the knee, right? He blew out the knee.
Oh, he got hurt again.
Was that what it was?
I didn't know he blew out his knee.
Or was that last time? Oh goodness, I'm losing track.
I just know he's been in some wars.
Maybe I'm mistaken. I don't want to say misinformation out there, but Calvin Kattar at one point was so close, and then he just had a bunch of setbacks. This is kind of really the point I was making. What's the point? Arnold Allen, another one that he knocked off, right?
Yeah.
That's another one that was like, he was right there. It's like we lost him now. So,
well, the thing,
he can get back on track. That's just one loss.
Yair kind of sidestepped it. He actually did get his fight.
Yeah, he lost to Max.
It, though. Yeah. But at least he lost to Max.
Yeah.
But he also got his real title fight.
Yeah.
And he lost that.
Mm-hmm.
So at least he made it to the...
Sure.
He got around it somehow.
There's hope. You can lose to Max and still get a title shot. Oh man, yeah, I don't know. I can't tell Max Holloway like you don't belong at featherweight anymore because you keep beating everybody, but not the champ. So you got to move up. But if that, and he's talked about wanting to go to 55 maybe, or at least being interested in it. I think
the one when he did go up, he struggled, right? You lost to Dustin.
Yeah, he lost to Dustin.
Yeah, that's
so
yeah.
what? There's probably a billion other people you could beat.
How fun would him and Gaethje be?
That would be fun.
That would be a fun fight.
That would be a really fun fight. I'd watch that.
Yeah, they're not gonna put Max and Ilya together, right?
I mean, Ilya's probably next,
so he actually avoids Max somehow.
Yeah, he took an alternate path, which you know what? Good. It's okay with me. Just sometimes we need to let them go. And I'm all about meritocracy, but it's like you can't do you gotta get to him, you gotta go through me. It doesn't work. It's not fun. It's just funny. Yeah, so that's what I would prefer, to be perfectly honest. But as far as Korean Zombie, this is kind of like, it's almost like the last time we're going to be talking about him. But I hope not, because he's so special, right? He was such a special fighter, a really fun fighter, and I think he's representative of a time and a place in the sport that was a really fun and special time for a lot of fans. You and me, at least I can speak for myself, I assume you too. Represented the WEC, and I think the spirit of the WEC in such a special way. There's still guys left from WEC, but I think Korean Zombie, even though he only had like 1 or 2 fights in WEC, I think he really exemplified like what made that company special. Is just the fact that it was like they were fun fights. It was almost always fun.
It was easy on the eyes because the blue
cage
was soft. It wasn't, I like that. They should go back to the blue cage.
I wish that they would do like next time they go to Sacramento, they just do a blue cage.
All right.
That would be good.
And WWE should go back to the blue steel cage.
Oh, we're not going down that road. No. Keep it. No. I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about wrestling.
I'm just saying that cage. The fence is so stupid. You ever run into a fence? It don't hurt. But that steel cage, you throw someone's head into it, that hurts. Like you said, we won't talk about wrestling. Go ahead.
Don't get me down that road. But the question I would have for you, sir, about Korean Zombie, Sung Jung, is he a top 10 action fighter in the UFC all time?
I mean, off the top of my head, probably.
Yeah. You don't have to list. You don't have to list 10 and figure out where he is. But
he's in the mix.
I feel like he's in the mix. Thanks, Dana.
Such an easy answer.
I think he's. Yeah, that's exactly why it gives it. I feel like definitely he's a top 10 action fighter of all time. Right. In the UFC, at least. Once you start opening it up and it kind of gets more broad, it does get a little tougher to squeeze everybody in, right? Because you got Pride, and you got all these other places where we put on some exciting fights. But I think TKZ most definitely goes down, and like let's say that they opened a wing that was just like I like to say this, the Hall of Violence.
Okay.
Rather than the Hall of Fame, just like the part of the Hall of Fame, it doesn't matter if they were a great fighter. Were they fun? Were they consistently fun? That's where those guys go. That's where I think that Donald Cerrone really belonged.
Right.
I would put him there. I would put Korean Zombie there. I would put... Well, Robbie Lawler can go to the real Hall of Fame, but he would also qualify for that one.
Okay.
That's the kind of guys that I'm thinking of,
Gaethje.
Oh, yeah, easy. Easily. Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Probably Dustin Poirier too. But realistically, he probably also could qualify for the Hall of Fame too. He's got the interim belt. It's not the same, but I think he actually he has reached a different level than someone like a Donald Cerrone did.
Okay.
Just a little
like a Dan Hooker, more like a Dan Hooker.
Wait, what?
More like a Dan Hooker, probably in that violence.
Oh.
As opposed to Dustin.
I was misfollowing you. Anyway, we want to get to the rounds, of course. We don't have too many rounds, but one more thing. We're going to go back to Erin Blanchfield here because I didn't get to watch. So I'm going to especially rely on you heavily for this next question since I don't really have the ability to give a strong opinion. I know she beat Tyler Santos. It was a close fight, as I understand it, right? Competitive fight. Anyway.
Round 1, not so close. Easily scored for Santos. Round 2, I thought was very close. Could kind of go either way. It was Blanchfield kind of putting her against the fence and landing some shots, some knees, but also at distance, Santos had her in that round. Very close round. I'm kind of shocked that it was unanimous.
And sometimes it's just the way those things shake.
And then round 3, it was Blanchfield putting it on a somewhat tired Santos.
Okay.
So now this is when I wanted to talk about.
Tyler, the tired Santos?
Yeah, kind of. She this where Blanchfield she mixed everything together: ground, clinch, and striking at distance, and she looked good pretty much everywhere. I think if you're looking for the next contender, you got to make these fights 5 rounds.
Yes, absolutely. I think there were a lot of people who were surprised that this was not even the co-main event.
It was,
which realistically should have been a main event somewhere.
Yeah,
not this fight. It wouldn't have been this card, but these two should have been for a number 1 contender 5-round fight.
Yeah, when you're trying to find that next contender, put them in 5 rounds. What could Blanchfield maybe finds a finish late, maybe Santos rallies, but it seemed like Santos was fading.
And both of these women have been in either title fights or main events before. It's not like you can't do it.
I know it's weird going from
How many Marina Rodriguez main events have we had? And she's not like an independent. No disrespect to her. I actually like what she brings to the table, but she's not as much of a fighter that you would think the UFC would be trying to promote in a bigger spot than someone like, especially Blanchfield, who is the young up-and-comer. She has almost like a full year to become the youngest UFC champion ever.
Yeah, these fights got to be 5.
Got to do it.
You can't, I don't understand okay, this fight's going to be 5, but it's not for number 1 contendership, and then your next fight's going to be not the main event, not even the co-main event, and we're just going to do 3 rounds versus a higher ranked opponent. It just doesn't make sense.
It sometimes feels like there's less thought put into this than you would think there should be, and you can't. They can't be doing that. The UFC must be thinking this through. But who's the one sitting in that room saying, "Nah, we don't want to do that"?
Like this is the top 5 of a pretty stacked division.
It's a good division. I think this is the one that actually has the most talent in it. I thought for a very long time we would get to the point that I think we are at right now, which is 125 pounds actually has more of the best women in the world than any of the other divisions. I always thought it would happen, and I think we're here. I don't know when we got here, but we are now.
We're here for sure.
Mm-hmm. So you got to do it, and she has the potential to be the next big thing for there. I don't know if I don't want to say she's going to reach like Ronda territory. That's just not the type of fighter she is. But I think she could definitely be a certain like face of the company type of thing for the women's division if she gets to the top. She's still got to do that. But you would think that someone who's young and talented and probably has a long career ahead of her and is already putting the violence on people, you would think you'd want to market that. And they don't. I don't get it.
Yeah. Is Grasso fighting Shevchenko again next week?
No, not next week. It's UFC Noche. They're doing the
Noche UFC. Yeah.
Noche UFC. Thank you. I'm sorry. That's September 16th.
Okay. Couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks away. But this coming weekend is Manon Fiorot against or Fior. Oh God, I can never get it right. Against Rose Namajunas.
Fiorot.
And that's in Paris. And that kind of has the look of also a number 1 contender fight. But the question would be, is Erin Blanchfield next? Is she already next? Or should we wait to decide that till after this fight? I don't know. What do you want to do?
I mean, I'd go Blanchfield gets the winner. I don't mind that. Too. But also, where does Rose fit in flyweight? Because, I mean, she's ranked 2 at strawweight.
But if she beats Manon Fiorot...
Yeah, Fiorot's already
she's already a 2-time division champion. I don't think you'd look at it and say, well, Rose has to pay her dues. Like, realistically, she's kind of a star. Like, you kind of put her in that fight probably as soon as you're able to. But she also... I talked to Rose the other day. We'll be having that interview coming out from the New York Post this week. And her and Valentina are good friends. They go back many years. There's a lot of respect between them. It's not a fight that I think they're necessarily looking forward to having, but it seems like Rose is at least open to the idea of them being professionals, and if it was for the right reason, they could have that fight. But I don't think she's calling her out or anything like that right now. You know what I mean?
So here's what's going to happen. I mean,
also we still have to see if Alexa Grasso is going to hold on to that belt or not. There's so many undetermined things.
If there's a finish next week
for Fiorot and
if there's a finish, they'll probably get the first crack.
Yeah, probably. Well, I don't know if Fiorot would. You never know.
Well, I mean, Blanchfield looked good.
She did.
But she also didn't finish. She looked bad in the first round. Not bad, but she definitely lost.
Not as strong.
So second round was close.
I'm taking your word for it.
Second round close. And third round is when she kind of started to take over.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll see how it goes. We'll be able to talk about it again next week, right? Mm-hmm. Let's get over to the rounds though. We got, like I said, we got to do 6 of them. The unanimity report real quick. We're not going to talk about the PFL rounds tonight, but there were 4 of them. So we have unanimous 14 of 18 times for the judges working in New York. That was a 77.8% clip, pretty solid. An 8-9 split. There was also one unanimous 10-8. We won't be able to talk about that. But
well, we already kind of talked about one round.
I guess we sort of did, right?
Yeah, C, and then
yeah,
the 10-8, then the 10-8 split. I mean, obviously you can go 10-8. There was plenty of damage. That the one fighter was completely outclassed. So in the grand scheme of things, so.
The one fighter, huh?
Yeah, I don't even know his name.
he was a
Al-Kahadi was the winner.
I think it was Al-Qatani.
Al-Qatani was the winner.
He was a Saudi fighter.
He looked fine. He looked good.
I'd heard good things coming into it.
He put it on him, and I think he earned 8s for those rounds. So solid. Did
the first round approach the 7? That was unanimous 8.
I didn't think. I thought it was that. Well, also I was 40 feet away, probably further from the cage. But I definitely, it was one side. I was like, oh, this is probably an 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
gotcha. But yeah, so that was PFL. Like I said, we're not gonna really go into those rounds, but at UFC Singapore, it was 15 out of 21 unanimous for a 71.4% rate. 2 of the rounds were 8-9 splits, so solid rate there too.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had some pretty solid judging on the whole this week in 2 different, basically on one side of the globe and the other.
Yeah, it was good.
Mm-hmm. Get to contested rounds.
There's a couple rounds I'm a little iffy on, but we'll get to them.
We're going to talk about them right now, in fact. I don't know if it's the rounds you talk about, but we're going to start off with Max Holloway and Sung Jung. Round 3, knockout. We talked about that already. But rounds 1 and 2 are split. So let's get to it. What's in round 1?
Okay, so I got a 10-9 Holloway. He landed the harder, more effective punches, I think, for sure. But Zombie definitely had his fair share of moments. Landed quite a bit. However, I do think it's pretty clear in Holloway's favor. At one point, he smashes Sung Jung, and the Zombie does this. Yeah. He does the stanky leg and backs up almost the entire length of the cage. Very clear he got hurt there. I think the punches from Holloway were very strong. The best of the round. I think the score should be 10-9 Holloway here. I was a little bit surprised this one was split.
I am in no way surprised, actually. I go the other way, man. Well, I mean, I actually did score the same as you in the sense that I also gave it to Max Holloway, 10-9. But this I thought was a very close round. I was not very firm in the corner of Holloway. So I ultimately settled on, I think he probably landed a few more of the harder strikes in that round. But I think Jung gets some real good shots in here, and I don't think it's a problem. I don't
like it.
I could also see how it's very easy for one of those strikes to maybe not be seen as well, and then that can flip it.
Possibly. I mean,
very easily because there's big lands, so if you don't see the shot that causes it, you can't necessarily score it.
Yeah,
you can't score it.
I mean, the guy's clearly wobbled and he walks backwards 8 steps.
But why was it?
Why is he wobbled? I don't know. Did he just get knocked off his equilibrium and get lightheaded?
You never know. Pressure? It could have been a headbutt. If you didn't identify the strike, you can't call it.
I mean, you see the effect of it.
That's not how it goes.
I don't know.
That's just not how it goes, though.
I can't get behind it in this sense. I can't get behind your argument in this particular sense.
Fair enough, but either way, I mean, whether you can go behind that or not, I actually saw this as a close round. I really did. Yeah. I'm very okay with this.
Numbers are close, so numbers will support you.
Don't forget the number. I didn't even see the numbers.
I don't think it's. I think it's more close but clear.
No, I disagree. I actually think it was just a close round.
Well, I disagree more.
Fair enough. I'm going to fight you.
I'm going to keep disagreeing.
All right. But yeah, so I agreed with you. I agreed with judges David Leatherby and Clemens Werner. You and I disagreed. You much more strongly than me. Disagree with Ben Cartledge. But yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. We're not going to keep going on this one.
I didn't say it was bad.
Okay.
I just said it was close but clear.
Close but clear. Gotcha. I disagree.
Yeah.
Round 2.
Round 2.
Yes.
Max drops him early, but he doesn't punch, and it almost cost him. Like, he didn't want to hit him again. He could have easily got the fight out of there right away. Like, he just stops punching, thinking it's going to get stopped, but it didn't get stopped. Zombie rallies. But before that, he locks in a Darce choke. That Zombie survives. I thought this was a pretty tight, pretty deep Darce.
Looked like a good one.
That Zombie's in for a decent amount of time. But he does survive, and Max gives it up. And
he defended it well, too.
Yeah,
they
get back to the feet. Zombie lands some good punches of his own, but, Max continued to land well. I think Zombie earned his 9 in this round, but Max just holds that lead from the beginning of the round. So I'm 10-9, Holloway.
I'm 10-9 too. This is a round where you'd like to have that middle score.
Yeah.
You know? Because it's very easily, to me, that middle score. But I don't quite get to the 8. Although I can see the justification. There's
okay.
high levels of damage early. It's just, like you said, I think he probably earns the 9. Jung does.
Max should have finished this in round 2. I don't think this should have gotten to round 3. Yeah. He just stops punching because he thinks it's going to get stopped. I guess he had, a little bit of heart for Zombie in that sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
From a veteran guy, typically you don't see that.
Maybe it was something else.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, moving on to I guess we should probably say the splits, right? It was you and I had the 9, like I said. Same as judges Cartledge and Werner here. It was David Leatherby who had the lone 8. But yeah, I can see it. Round moving on. Round moving on. Anthony Smith in the co-main event got the victory over Ryan Spann. Split decision, 29-28 all around. Came down to the 3rd frame. I think round 2 was Smith and round 1 was Spann, right? If I remember right. Do I have it back?
Round 1 was Smith, round 2 was Spann.
Okay, the other way around. Yeah. But yeah, so round 3 is where we have our deciding round. What's going on?
It's a very close round. Both guys are landing pretty good. Spann to the head, Smith with the leg kicks, some good ones to the head. I think it's very close. Both guys are completely gassed. I just needed someone to go out there and put the stamp on it. Neither did. I think Spann was a tad better. So I scored Spann, 10-9.
I thought Smith was a tad better. So I went that way.
Fine, I'm fine with that. What this fight isn't, or what this round isn't, is a robbery, as it was posted.
And people were talking about this as a robbery?
People were talking about this fight as a robbery. One going as far as saying, I'm not even interested in the main event anymore. at robberies like this. It's just...
Who said this?
I'll tell you off the air.
All right.
I actually shared it with a couple of our colleagues. Like, what are we doing here? How are we seeing this fight as a robbery? Okay. You got to be kidding me.
All right.
Anyway, I scored it for Spann. You scored it for Smith.
You were in the minority. You saw it the same as Vito Palillo, European judge. Mark Collette from the UK, and Luke Hill, I believe, is an Aussie judge. I meant to look that up, and I didn't get the chance to. But I'm almost positive he's an Aussie judge, or maybe Kiwi. It's from that region of the world that's farther away from ours. But I agreed with the majority here for Smith.
They're so far. That's weird. That part of the world is so far west that it's actually east, and they're ahead of us.
Yes, they are.
In time.
Correct.
That's weird how that works.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I just find that fascinating.
The more you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we can move on to the next round we have is round 2 of Sungwoo Choi's unanimous decision victory over Jarno Aarons, 29-28 twice and a 30-27. We're talking about round 2. And this is, I don't normally put a round in kind of the order that we talk about these. That really has no bearing on things when we could talk about some other stuff. I just thought this was an interesting round. Did you?
It is interesting. This is an interesting round. Because right off the gate, Aarons lands an uppercut, dropping Choi with following him right to the ground.
And he was like almost dead. That was like a hard uppercut.
It was a good dropping. Yeah, it was a good dropping.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really do much. Or doesn't get the opportunity to do much when he gets on top.
Yeah.
And they stay there for a little while. And, Choi is able to work to the feet, and they continue to, try to get for a mat return or whatever, and Choi is able to land a throw and end up on top. And he does land a couple shots, some couple elbows. I didn't think it was enough to overtake the round, but I see it. So, I think it's a close round. I got no issue either way, but I do have it for 10-9 Aarons.
See, this one, I think rounds like this are kind of more interesting than like, oh, it was a close round. You could kind of see it either way. It is a split, but it's like, it's close because we have a very high amount of damage caused in a very small amount of time from one guy. And then on the other side, we have a lesser degree of damage, but there's more of it, like distinctly more of it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
In terms of the volume.
The fight we just talked about, it's not interesting at all. Yeah, this guy could have won, that guy could have won. Big deal.
Yeah.
This you kind of dive into a little bit more, why, what's actually happening here.
And, you're supposed to go, right, with the greater impact is what kind of is more effective, right? But that only goes so far because it's like the only thing he did the whole round was Aarons like almost knocked his head off, I felt like. It seemed really hard when I watched it. Maybe it wasn't live. I don't know, or cage side, But it looked violent when I watched it, and I graded it so high that I just didn't think that Choi was able to. I mean, it was close, like really close to doing it, but I didn't quite think Choi was able to chip away at the lead to get it back.
So it's interesting because if Aarons drops him and doesn't follow him to the ground, just stands up, makes him stand up. Now you can actually see what the true effect of it is.
Sure.
How badly is he hurt?
And it is a little harder to see, right?
So he's on the ground. He's holding on. He's fighting. He ends up in a scramble. He ends up on top. How badly was he hurt? Don't really know. So that round's kind of interesting.
I thought it was very interesting. So. Yeah. So, but yeah, we ultimately ended up on the same side here. I could totally go the other way, but I went the way I did. Just as judges Mark Collette and Vilo Paolillo did. Ben Cartledge was the lone out judge here, but yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I got no issue here.
Nothing wrong with that. We got 2 more rounds to do. And sir, I called this one. This finally is me hitting the contested round we're most likely to be talking about. JJ Aldrich getting the round 2 TKO. Well, we'll get into it. Getting the round 2 TKO over Liang Na. But we're talking about it. I was still right.
You're technically right. I'm not going to take it away.
Take it from me.
I won't take it away.
You stop. Yeah.
But put an asterisk.
Anyway, so yeah, but we are talking about the one round that actually did get scored. So yeah, set it up for everybody.
Aldrich landed clean on the feet. She was snapping the head of Liang back every time she landed. Liang was able to get the classic, women's division headlock takedown a couple times, but she never did anything with it. Aldrich was able to, get on top with the third attempt for this takedown, almost around to the back. She landed a couple of shots from there. I think this round is pretty clear for Aldrich, and I think David Leatherby nailed it.
Yeah. This is an Aldrich round. This should definitely be an Aldrich. I think you can't really go very strongly the other way. I don't think it's the right score to go the other way.
As much as you're saying last week predicting this is going to be the fight that we talk about. It shouldn't be.
You're right. It's for the wrong reasons. But I'm still right, so don't you take it from me, you jerk. Every time I call it, it's a first round finish, which, by the way, you're welcome.
Yeah, for the most part.
But this one, yeah. But this one, I still got it. It is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. This shouldn't have been. You're right. There's one way to score this round correctly, I think. And that is the way of David Leatherby. Judges Howie Booth, who is an Aussie judge, and Luke Hill, who I'm almost positive is an Aussie judge. They went the other way, and I can't really defend it very well. So what does that mean for Judge Leatherby?
Couchside Override.
I don't think it's going to make it to the UK, man. It's just, I'm trying. It's just not happening. Maybe we'll send it in like a message in a bottle type of thing. See if it just floats over.
It might.
It's got a better chance than the Postal Service. Anything else on this fight? It seems like you have something else to say.
I want to mention, the Aldrich. I loved her finish.
Oh, okay.
I'm shocked I didn't put it as
We're not at the finishes part.
Yeah, I know, but I'm shocked I didn't put it as my favorite.
Right.
But
save it.
So
we got other stuff to talk about first.
Fine.
You want to get the finishes? Do it later.
Fine.
Yeah. Got one more round. Rinya Nakamura got the win over Fernie Garcia. 30-27 2 times and a 30-26. Round 1, where we don't get too many 10-8s to start. Kind of sets that bar, right? Like if you, and I was talking with another official about this, the idea of this, that if you put an 8 out there or you put a 7 out there, that's your bar. You gotta get there.
Yeah.
Or can you defend it? If it goes on later. So it can be an interesting thing. Like where is the right time to pull it in round 1? Because we've talked about this before.
After the clacker. That's where you pull
it. Anyway, round 1.
Nakamura gets him down and immediately goes north-south. Held him down there, attacking north-south choke and, hunting an arm. Didn't really ever get close to a sub. Maybe the north-south choke was briefly, threatening. Not much ground and pound until after, the 10-second warning clacker goes off and he rains down some good elbows and punches. I think that's probably where it went over the threshold to the 8 for one of the judges, but I'm just at a 9 there.
Yeah, I only had a 9. I think it's a very strong 9. So like again, that middle score.
Yeah, well you can't there's no way you can score this for Garcia.
No, definitely not.
You have dominance for a long portion of the round, I guess. For almost the entire round.
I would say the dominance is checked off and probably duration, but damage doesn't quite get there.
You get the you got to make the case for the damage in that final few seconds.
Now we are naming 2Ds, so if
it's defendable, it's criteria backed.
It is criteria backed. So I am not going to sit here and say that Mark Collette couldn't pull an 8 there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way that we've been seeing it, especially out of North America. We've been seeing this as more of a 9.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, the words are still on the page. No one's changed them yet. It's not wrong. So, hey, Mark Collette's totally justified. I guess, maybe we've been just saddened by the way that they do things here, and now we're on a 9, so it is a 9.
The only thing about this is I was kind of shocked that this was the 8 in the round, because I thought round 3 had a bigger, better case for the 8.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't watch the full fight. I ended up just watching this round.
Yeah, because round 3 of my notes, we may be looking at an 8 here.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's almost a similar round. He had good ground and pound in a really strong armbar attack.
Okay.
In that round, and it was basically the same, nothing from Garcia's side.
Interesting.
So it's just a bit strange there that this round 1 was the 8 and not 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the 9 was the majority score. The one we gave. Mm-hmm. Vito Pelillo also had that, and so did Clemens Werner. And that is it for our contested rounds. Again, sorry to the PFL officials and the PFL fans and everybody who was really looking forward to us talking about Sada Busi and Carlos Leal. We're not doing it. I'm sorry. We gave you what we gave you. We can't we can talk about the finishes. The finishes in general. The PFL had 5, 4 by KO or TKO. I think all of them were actually TKO, if not mistaken. And 1 was a submission. 2 fights ended in the first round. Over on UFC, we had 7 finishes, all by KO or TKO, and no subs, and 5 first-round finishes. So, Dan, you already named one you like.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your favorite, or did you have another one?
It wasn't my favorite, but my favorite was Max Holloway, knocking out the zombie.
Yeah.
Just because the whole... even the guy got knocked out. You don't want to wish any harm on him, but it's just a fitting way for him to walk away.
It's really fitting that this guy we really like to fight just took, just concussive brain damage.
It's just the way it is. It's like you face planted the zombie, you finally took him out. He's gone.
If I was to wish for one way for this fighter we like to watch go out, I want to see his brain get turned into
He wouldn't want to
one more
but
time.
Also in such an exciting
I know.
fashion.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
I think
it's the way he wants to go out. On his shield. He chose violence in round 3. He walked out there and said, "Kill or be killed. We're doing it."
Exactly.
So I understand what you're saying. I'm breaking balls.
Okay.
Breaking balls.
All right.
Yeah.
Busting chops.
Busting your balls.
So we can say balls, but we can't say other words.
Talk about basketballs all you want. What are you talking about?
So silly.
Yeah. I'm talking about basketballs.
Don't even get me started on censoring curse words on television after a fist fight.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I think they stopped doing that, or at least on the feed that I watch.
Not on ABC.
Oh, well, it's ABC. It's network television. It's a little different. The standards are different, man. It is what it is.
It's so stupid.
You don't even care what my favorite finishes are. You just want to talk about your own thing.
I was thinking. What's your favorite finish?
I have 2, and I think you'll appreciate
I do appreciate them, yeah.
Junior Tafa and Waldo Cortez Acosta doing exactly what heavyweights are supposed to do, knocking out the other guy, and they did it in a combined less than 5 minutes. This was wonderful.
It's the way it's supposed to happen in heavyweight.
It's great.
However,
yes,
the fighter that Dresky or Brzeski, however you say
Bresky,
it,
I think
he should not have had to take that last concussive knockout blow to the back of the head.
No, he should not. That shot was blatantly illegal, but it was also a fight that should have ended before that.
I think you got to jump in before.
Not the greatest stoppage at all.
So,
but I have no problem with the fighter. It happened. Yeah. And look, he threw a strike that he shouldn't have either. It landed in a spot. The head was there the whole time. Mm-hmm. He threw that strike. He should not have thrown that strike. I'm glad it didn't cost him the fight. Mm-hmm. Because the fight should have ended.
Yeah.
Which, memory being what it is, and I don't think I've actually watched this fight again. But in my head, and I should watch it maybe this week even. In my head, John Jones was beating the crap out of Matt Hamill so much that fight should have been stopped before he was disqualified.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch that again. In fact, I might watch it again right after we're done recording. Because it doesn't take that long.
All right.
Yeah. Let's watch it together. Let's watch Matt Hamill get beat up.
Okay.
All right. We got time. But that's it for the past week, UFC and PFL. We finally only have one event to talk about this coming week. and that is UFC Paris. Headlined by Cyril Gane against Sergey Spivak, whose name we can never agree on how to spell. First name and last name are spelled differently no matter where you go on the internet.
Everywhere. Sometimes there's an H, sometimes there's a C.
Yep. I think it has to do with the translation of Cyrillic writing to the alphabet we use over on this side of the world.
I don't know.
Language is fun, or not. But here's our heavyweight main event. Are you interested in this one?
Not really.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I am.
That's what it is.
I think Cyril Gane is interesting. Spivak's on a good run.
All right.
I think it could actually be a pretty decent fight for a heavyweight fight.
It might be an okay fight.
Because Spivak isn't like a plotting type of heavyweight either.
Well, Gane's a good fighter.
Gane obviously is much more athletic, I think. But I could see this actually being like an interesting fight for heavyweight in terms of like you won't see that many heavyweight fights that look like this one in a good way, I think.
Okay.
I'm hopeful.
Well, let's end it in 5 minutes and I'll be happy.
That would also be good. It is in France, like we said. So I'm going to say mostly UK, European judges, kind of like Singapore. Maybe, no Aussies, though. There'll probably be like one or two local judges from France. That's typically how they've done it when they've gone to France. Is there will be like one or two locals that do get a little bit of experience. But they tend to lean heavily on the other UK and Euro judges that they bring in. I'm expecting solid judging. I don't think we're gonna have another situation where we got to overrule two Aussies and be like, no, guys, that ain't right.
We typically have solid judging.
We do. But again, this was. I think we have to add this round, by the way, to the list. The JJ Aldrich and Liang Na.
Okay, we'll add it.
Yeah, add it to the list. Other fights I'm looking forward to. I know you're looking forward to these two. Manon Fiorot against Rose Namajunas. We talked about that one ad nauseum.
That one's a good one.
Benoit Saint-Denis against Thiago Moises is a solid one you highlighted. Yep. And I threw this one on here too. I listed as the opener at present. Farid Basharat against Clayton Rodriguez. Excuse me. I like that one. Bantamweight. Good fight.
You gotta love bantamweight.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably the best men's division.
I'm still on 55.
Yeah,
I defend 55 still.
All right.
But I mean, it's not like there's a wrong answer there. They're both great. And then oh goodness, this is like almost lock city. Most likely for contested rounds. Jocelyn Edwards against Nora Cornoli. I don't know if that's the name or not, but I mean, when has a Jocelyn Edwards fight happened that we're not talking about on contested rounds?
That's true. I want to see if I can find something that.
And she's down at 35 for this fight, I should say.
Okay.
Because I think she was up at 45 for a little while, and now that they seem to be killing the 45-pound division like 100% now. So I don't think we'll see much of that anymore unless they miss weight. Jocelyn Edwards is just honestly, all these women should just go to PFL and take the spot of Elena Kolesnik.
It's not a bad idea.
Just go do that. You might win $1 million.
Yeah, all the 45 should just fight out their contract.
You just have to be willing to try and not get your face punched in by Larissa Pacheco.
That's true.
Which is not a fun task. I do not want to get punched in the face by Larissa.
Is Pacheco gonna go back to 55? You think?
To do what?
That up and coming girl that we saw, Michelle something from Australia.
Montague.
She
looked good. She fought very well at PFL. She's at 45.
Trains with. I thought she was 55.
No, that was 45.
Oh, okay. So
that was featherweight.
But maybe she'll be in the tournament next year.
I think PFL has moved on from lightweight, except for if Kayla Harrison feels the need to do it.
Okay.
That's how I read the situation.
Well, she'll probably be on that pay-per-view card. Isn't she the pay-per-view division with Jake Paul?
Well, there's no PFL. There's no pay-per-view this year for PFL.
Right, but I'm saying that they have a pay-per-view division.
You do.
Right.
The pay-per-view super fight division, sir. TM.
Yeah. Francis, Jake Paul, and Kayla.
And Kayla Harrison, yep.
Yeah.
What about it?
She'll probably fight on that.
Michelle Montague?
No.
Oh.
Kayla Harrison.
Yes.
Yeah. That's whenever they actually have this card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're talking in circles. I don't think anyone wants to hear this anymore.
You said they were doing away with it.
No, they're not. They're not doing a pay-per-view this year.
I know they're not doing a pay-per-view this year, but you said the division.
Who's on first?
You said they've given up the. They said they've given up the 55 division.
What's on second? I don't know who's on third.
It's a great routine.
It's great. I read the book to my kids. They made a kids book version. It's the same thing. I just perform it like Abbott and Costello. Yeah. They love it. Actually, I haven't done it in a while. I'm gonna do it soon. I'm gonna do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that does it. We'll be back to talk about Paris next Monday.
Thanks for tolerating us. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you had fun. We'll catch you after another great week.
Thanks for listening.